Welcome to another episode of Three Pete After Me. Thanks for tuning in as we talk more about the RiverDogs championship run and the current team, which is starting to get hot here toward the midway point of the 2024 season. We'll talk to one of the key pieces in the everyday lineup for the RiverDogs 18-year-old shortstop and the number 6 Rays prospect, according to MLB Pipeline, Adrian Santana, taken 31st overall in the 2023 draft. He's been at shortstop, making great plays defensively, a regular in the top of the order, and he'll talk about the RiverDogs so far. Enjoy. All right, Adrian, thanks for stopping by. I know it's a busy time of the year in your first professional baseball season, but thanks so much for stopping by. How's your first year in Charleston been so far?
It's been really good. You know, the fans have been really exciting. Coming here, I got told about the fans, so something I was looking forward to, and they haven't disappointed.
I think that you guys over the last couple of weeks have started to play a lot better baseball, and that's kind of what the Rays are known for. You talk to guys who have been in the organization, you look at the history of the team here in Charleston and how good they've been year after year. Do you feel like you guys are starting to find that groove together as a team?
Yeah, first couple of months was kind of rough for us, I would say. You know, coming to the field, it was kind of feeling like we would lose every game. Past couple of weeks, we've been putting up better at-bats, walking more, you know, having good team at-bats, runners in scoring position, we put in the ball in play, you know, just getting the job done. And we're starting to click. Feels good to be winning again.
Is there any pressure? Like, do you know when you get here? I know that you're still early in your professional career, but are you aware that there were 3 straight championships here, or when do you find out along the way?
As soon as you get drafted, kind of going into spring training, that's what everybody would talk about. Everybody talks about how good Charleston is, how fun it is to play here. So first day in, found out about the repeat, so it's fun.
Let's start, before we talk more about this year, back at the beginning for you. When did you first fall in love with baseball? Do you remember, when you started playing or what your early experiences were?
I started at the age of 2 throwing a tennis ball against the wall.
Sure.
So my dad played with the Guardians up to AAA, and then when I was born, my brother was already 6 years old, so I was always going to baseball games. My dad was throwing balls up as high as he could, and I was catching them. I would always bother my brother, throw with him, and it's kind of just throwing tennis balls at the wall, racket balls, and just diving onto the bed and making plays and things like that.
Was baseball always your sport? Did you play anything else, or was it always baseball?
Yeah, my 8th grade year, I played flag football just because my dad knew once high school would come around, it would only be baseball.
Sure.
And then I also played basketball, just stood at the three-point line and shot.
Were you a good shot, though?
Good shooter, couldn't make layups.
Just didn't want to rebound either? That wasn't
too small.
Too small. Yeah. How about football? Where were you?
Just quarterback.
Quarterback.
Just run around, scramble. Not tackle, though. Probably die.
Yeah,
if I
flag
played
football.
Tackle. Yeah,
Right.
but
Yeah.
toss it up to my wide receiver.
I've talked to people who grow up with a sibling. I think if you have an older sibling, like you mentioned, 6 years older, does that kind of toughen you up a little bit earlier on in your life because maybe you're undersized a little bit and he has an opportunity to beat up on you?
Yeah, my brother's 6'3", so he's pretty big, but I think I'm the way I am because of him. You know, growing up, my friends were his friends. I didn't really have many of my own friends, or were just all of his friends. So growing up, like, I couldn't be annoying. I couldn't be like, you kind of have to grow up a certain way having an older brother, and I think that's the reason I am the way I am today.
And you mentioned your dad played professional baseball. How big of a help had he been on your career, even from as a kid to where you are now as a professional?
I think it's very important just because, like, you know, you go 0 for 4 one day with 4 strikeouts. The last thing you want to have is go into the car and your dad's screaming at you because you're striking out.
Right.
So having him, you know, play, go through it, know what it's like, it's definitely a huge factor in my career.
When did you maybe realize that you were a little bit better? I know Miami is a hotbed of baseball talent, so I don't know when that became, but was it young? Was it in high school? When did you realize that maybe you were a step above some of the people you were playing with and against?
Growing up, I was always smaller, so I was starting shortstop and just making cool plays. My dad would kind of tell me, like, hey, you got a pretty cool talent at short. And then I would say when I got into summer ball was when I kind of started to realize, like, you know, I am a little bit smaller, but I got some things they don't got, and that's probably when I figured it out.
And with speed, is that something that you developed over time? Have you always been fast? I know you keep saying you were a smaller guy, so you find a way to compete, but were you always one of the faster players on the team or whatever sport you were playing?
I was always fast, but not that fast. I think after my sophomore year, when I gained a little bit of weight, got a little bit stronger, was when I got really fast out of nowhere.
Now, I ask anybody who says they're fast and is with the Rays, Chandler Simpson, how would you describe his speed in relation to yours?
It's a different level. I'm fast. He's like lightning speed. Like it's ridiculous.
And I'm sure you had heard about him when you got there, but what was it? Do you remember the first time you actually saw him run and thought, my goodness, that's a different kind of fast?
Yeah, in spring training, I was playing kind of not fully in, but like 3/4 in, and he hit me a routine ground ball, and he almost beat it out, and I was like, that's the craziest thing I've ever seen, by far. Yeah.
So the speed was there. The other thing that you're known for is your defense, especially at this point in your career. You're going to make the routine play, and you can do a lot more than that. What is it about defense that excites you and makes you want to be as good as you are defensively?
My opinion, defense kind of it's what I do to escape when I'm not hitting. Some people can get in their head. For me, I just go out there and do my job defensively. When I'm struggling at the plate, me knowing that I'm making good plays defensively and helping out the team is what keeps me going.
And then you started to, after, you get to high school, and that's when things can start to pick up. Obviously, you were drafted just after the first round out of high school. But at what point in high school did professional baseball and being an early pick start to become a reality?
My senior year, I had a very good junior summer. Made a lot of events, made a pretty good impact, and then the beginning of the year at PBR, we had a PBR tournament, and that's when I really saw probably the most scouts I've ever seen in one place. My agent was like, "Hey, you got a pretty good shot. Just go out there, have fun," and then they would come watch our pregame BP, our infield, outfield, and started kind of realize like I might have a good shot here.
And you told me that you started switch hitting. You're a switch hitter now. You started doing that about midway through high school. What was the deciding factor? You were a right-handed hitter. You started batting left-handed. What was the deciding factor to try that?
My dad was lefty, so when I would be bored, back when my brother used to hit, I would kind of just hit front toss lefty for fun. And then we tried it for a little bit, and it got pretty frustrating just knowing that from the right side you'll probably smash that ball and you're over here striking out lefty. And my dad was just like, stick to it, it'll get there eventually. And if it wasn't for him, I probably just would have stayed righty.
When you started trying it in the off season, and then did you use it right away during a season, or how long did it take for you to start batting left-handed in games?
It took me a while. I mean, I was probably practicing for a year or two, started in game probably my freshman year. It's pretty frustrating. And then I started my sophomore year, first couple at bats, and I was like, if I'm going to want to start, I'm going to have to just bang the lefty and only hit righty. So I ended up hitting righty only my sophomore year and then started my sophomore summer in game.
Now, moving to the current time, it's hard enough as, being 18 years old in professional baseball, facing some of the best pitching you've seen from one swing and worrying about one swing. Can you take me through the mindset of having to worry about two swings to maintain? Because, again, you talk to anybody who played baseball for a long time, there's days where if you just hit right-handed, your swing doesn't feel right, and it takes a week to get out of that. How is that when you're thinking about two different swings?
For me, I kind of just prioritize lefty like 95%. I like to think that I've hit righty my whole life, so sure. I can just, even if it's a righty on the mound and then bullpen comes lefty, I'm only might hit one round righty that day, and I'll be ready to go by the game.
And if you have to switch during a game, like I've seen you a couple of times, most of the pitchers we faced are right-handed. Like you said, 95% of the time you're hitting from the left side. But you bat left-handed, they bring in a reliever, you switch over to the right side and then back to the left side. Is that any different, or is that pretty natural at this point?
It's natural, yeah. Just you see the lefty, you switch over, hit righty. If righty comes out, just hit lefty.
What are maybe some of your strengths from either side of the plate? Do you feel like, obviously, you're a right-handed hitter by nature. Do you feel like that's maybe still your stronger side a little bit, or you feel like you're pretty much even?
I think in game I'm pretty much even. BP, I could probably get a little further right side just because I can control it better, hit a little further, but in game I'm probably the same right now.
So back to high school where we left off, you start switch hitting, you start seeing the scouts. Obviously you have a decision to make at some point, but first you have to plan like you're going to college, and you committed to the University of Miami. What was it that drew you there? Obviously it's home, but did you consider any other schools seriously, or was that always where you wanted to go?
Yeah, there was a couple schools. There was NC State and there was UF that were like my top three, I would say. UF was a little far. Just having my parents be able to go to the game was a big part, and having my hitting coach that if I would be able to go during the season. If not, right after the off season, just right around the corner. That definitely played into it, and talked to my agent about it. He said that our best fit would be Miami.
And how was playing baseball in Miami? Like, how much do you think that helped you? There's guys who, they come from hotbeds like Texas, California. I think Florida is obviously the other one. I'm from Wisconsin. There wasn't great competition in high school baseball. How much do you think the player you became is because you played against really good talent?
I think it's a huge part. I mean, my sophomore year, I faced Irv Carter. I was up to 98 from the right side. Faced Jackson Ferris. I was up to 96. We faced Barriere. That was up to 99. So I think that definitely helps out a little bit. Just going into even summer ball, knowing that you faced 95, 96, you're not really overwhelmed with that velocity going into the summer. But, I mean, some states don't even get up to, 92, so it's a little harder.
Yeah, I think the hardest fastball I saw, I'm way older than you, it was probably 85. So, yeah, it's a completely different world up in the States with snow. It's not the same. You talk about, high school getting ready. So is it hard to believe that you're a professional for a year now, basically?
Yeah. I kind of forget sometimes. Sometimes I'll talk to my brother about it, and he'll be like, dude, I think you forget you got drafted in the first round. And then I'll be like, yeah, I do forget that sometimes. But, I mean, it's just show up every day, just get the work done, and keeps going.
Can you remember back to draft day? What were you doing? Were you sitting around watching the draft? People have different stories. And I think the baseball draft is always unique because it's during the season. So there's not as much of a month-long hype up to the NFL draft. It happens during the middle of a season. But for you, obviously, it's deciding your future. Right. So how did you approach that? Were you with your family, or how did you take in the draft?
Yeah, I was with my family, and we invited probably 50 people over, just close friends, close teammates. Couple days before, met up with my agent and my family at my house, and he kind of just threw out the paper as it was. He was like, you're either going to go here, here, or here. So my brother had a chance to get drafted in 2018, and his was a little more complicated. We had a different agent at the time. Weren't really as prepared.
Sure.
So my dad was kind of traumatized going into the draft with me. So my agent was like, it's going to be here, here, here. So at the time, I was super relaxed. I was fully confident in what he was saying, believed everything. And my dad was just not. He was super nervous. Every pick, he was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And I knew that we were in a good spot. And I told my agent, I was like, I think it's going to be the Rays. He was like, oh, I think it might be somebody else. And I was like, got a good feeling it's them.
And did you know for a long time that it was the Rays, or was that more of a day of? Were they around quite a bit?
They did send some high people in the organization over. Noticed that the Giants sent a couple people over. I think it was 2 nights before I had a dream. I was at a game, and there was only Ray scouts. And I was like, this is kind of weird. And then I woke up, told my dad, and I was like, I don't know. I don't really think it's coincidence, so we'll see.
That didn't make him any more relaxed, though?
No. Absolutely not.
Until
my name got called, he was not relaxed.
So how does that work? Do you see your name on the screen first, or do you get a call ahead of time?
No, your agent will call you probably 2 picks before and be like, hey, Tampa has you here for this much, or if not, I don't know, another team will have you later for this amount of money, and you kind of have to decide. How
exciting was it when you realized that literally your dream came true and that you're a member of the Rays and you get to play your professional baseball career in Florida?
At the time, like I said, doesn't really hit you till a couple days after. I remember that day I did some interviews. I was perfectly fine. And then 2 or 3 days later, I was like, oh, my God, my dream came true. And then you start realizing it.
You get to go through spring training then. Well, first you go to the complex to begin your professional career. What's it like to walk into the complex for the first time and realize, this is what I dream about as a kid. Now I'm getting to do it.
It was kind of cool when you see the Rays, working out. We had mirrors all over the gym. So when you look and you see, Rays on your shirt, coming from seeing Doral every day to seeing Rays, it's a pretty cool change.
And do you remember what you started playing in the FCL relatively soon after signing? What was your first kind of welcome to pro baseball moment? Did you have one of those? And the one thing I used for an example, Shane Sasaki told me, he was traded to the Marlins recently, that he was drafted out of Hawaii, out of high school, didn't have a ton of knowledge of pro baseball and everything, and his first at-bat was against Brustar Gratterall, who's throwing 102. And he came back to the dugout after striking out, and he asked the guys if this was what pro ball was like, and they're like, yeah, that's a rookie. He had no clue that this was a big league all-star. Did you have a moment where you were like, wow, pro baseball, this is the real deal?
Not that cool, no. I face just regular pitchers, not up to 101, so his story is definitely a little bit cooler.
What did you try to do in that first year after being drafted? You know, you're only going to get a handful of games before September comes and the season's over. So what was your focus as you started professional baseball?
I mean, it was felt the same as high school. Just go out there, just put the ball in play. You know, steal some bags, make some good plays at short. I mean, it was pretty fun. I mean, it was like 10 games probably. So, I mean, it was kind of like a teaser for the next year. But just go out there and have fun.
And then what was your focus in the offseason, knowing that you didn't have a full spring training yet, but you were going to get that experience come February or March? Did you have any goals for the offseason between September and February?
Yeah, my goal every year is just to get stronger, gain weight. That's a big part of what I need to do almost every day, and just get stronger.
And then you come back for spring training. Does that help you get to meet everybody in the organization?
Yeah.
I would imagine spring training is a huge help.
Yeah, absolutely. Our draft class was pretty close just because we had the trip. We went to DR. We had a lot of cool things that we did together. But definitely spring training was a huge part. Like, I feel like I can get sent to any affiliate and I can know at least 10 people on each team. So that's super important.
You mentioned the draft class is close. And I've heard that from college guys who come in, they're all 22, 23. And we had Braden Taylor, Colton Ledbetter, Trey Morgan last year. Is that the same for you, even though you were a high school pick? Obviously, Trevor Harrison was out of high school as well. But was it pretty easy for you to blend in with those guys and be a quote-unquote draft class?
Yeah, I mean, just going back to having my brother being 6 years older, like every time I talk to him, I feel like I'm talking to my brother, you know. I mean, I think somebody coming from high school that didn't have an older brother, I think it would definitely be a little bit different just because, I mean, coming from high school, it's two completely different worlds. And coming from college, like, they're a lot more mature than we are. Like, they've gone through life. They've done a lot more stuff than we have. So, and just, I think it's a pretty big difference.
I think we had Wu Shin on the podcast a few weeks back. He said he knew your brother a little bit. So did you know of Wu before you signed with the Rays, or did you really get to know him once you joined the Rays?
Yeah, before I signed, I hit BP at Miami-Dade, and he happened to be there. So that was the first time I met him. And then I got told he learned English in like 6 months, so that was pretty cool. And then talked to him for a little bit, and then kind of went our own separate ways. And then my agent had told me that he signed with the Rays, and I was like, oh, small world.
You room with him on the road? Is that what he told us? Yeah. How's that? He's an interesting guy.
He is. He likes to analyze his swing a lot, so I try to get him away from that, kind of relax when we're off the field. I tell him when we're on the field he can stress out and all of that, but once we're off, I try to calm him down and get his mind off of it.
How was spring training this year for you then, your first experience? I know that people have said it's long. By about 4 or 5 weeks in, you're just ready to go play real competitive games again.
Yeah, the beginning, you get there, you're obviously very excited to play, meet new people, and then kind of more towards the end, you're like absolutely exhausted. You're like, I just want to go play real baseball. You're tired of facing your own teammates. Like, being able to see different faces when you're up in the box, you're like, this is kind of what I've been looking for a while.
And how quick does that change from you're playing in the morning, or you're getting there early in the morning, going through workouts, and then your game's at, 11 a.m., 12?
Yeah.
To all of a sudden you're playing pretty much all night games. Is that sort of tough on the body the first week or two?
Maybe like the first week, just kind of getting used to you don't have to really wake up at 9. I remember the first 2 weeks when I got here, I was waking up at 9, and I was like, I'm not a fan of this. I like sleeping, so forced myself back to sleep till like 11, 10. But definitely the first 2 weeks were a little challenging. Did
you know you were going to start this year in Charleston? Did you have a good feeling? Did you think you might be back in the FCL?
Yeah, I went to spring training kind of like a tryout. I was hustling everywhere, just trying to. My opinion was like earning a spot. I knew it was either FCL or here, so I was really working for it.
Yeah, they had a couple of years ago stopped the rookie leagues, which is where a lot of not too many years ago, an 18-year-old shortstop, they were going to wait a full year or maybe two to get to this level. Now I think every team has somebody who's 18 or 19, and how exciting is that for you though to maybe not have to wait and go through those steps and just find out where you fit in full season ball right away?
I mean, I think it's definitely cool. In your head, you think you belong anywhere you go. So anywhere I would have been sent to would have just been get the job done and try to get better every day.
So Charleston, people told you kind of what to expect. There's going to be fans. Can you go back to that first game of the year, Friday night against Kannapolis? You come out of the dugout for the first time. Did it live up to the hype, or what was going through your head?
Yeah, I came out of the dugout or through the tunnel. I had things in my hand. I look up and kind of felt like it didn't feel real for a second. I put my stuff in. I looked around the crowd and I was like, this does not feel real. Like, I feel like I was, like, out of my body. And then took a couple minutes, and I was like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah. Any nerves with that, or is that kind of what you live for?
No, I'm a big fan of having a lot of people. I would tell my agent all the time in high school, like, most of the fans were just scouts coming to games, and I thrive off of having a lot of people at games, like all that energy. So I was ready for it.
And you didn't have a ton of time to settle in. You were right at the top of the order. So
Yeah.
was it kind of good to get that first at bat after being on the field defensively? Get that first
Yeah.
at bat under your belt right away.
100% just right to. I mean, I think sitting in the dugout for an inning or two would have been worse than just getting it out of the way.
I remember my favorite moment maybe from this year on the field. It wasn't even anything that special, but I think we were in Kannapolis and you tried to steal a base like 7 times in a row. Was it Raldaley's at the plate? Martinez?
I think so, yeah.
And he fouled off 6 or 7 pitches, and you were running on every one. I remember you hands on knees.
Yeah.
I remember you walking as slow as you could. You tied the shoe. What was going through your head on the first one, then like the 6th one, and then finally when Trey let you run?
You know, the first 3 it was okay. You know, I was like, maybe I'm just getting unlucky. After the 4th one, I was like, this is getting exhausting. You know, I need to keep my calories. I can't keep sprinting 100% 7 times. And then after the 6th one, I was like, I'm just going to take my time. I mean, I don't really care. I might get in the pitcher's head, slow him down a little bit. I was just taking my time, catching my breath, and I was exhausted.
And after Raldaley's got out, Trey came up and he took the first pitch, knowing that you were going to be running. You told me that if he would have swung at that pitch, you would have had some words for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when that happens, I think you just got to take the pitch, no matter where it is, because if he would have fouled off, I probably would have stayed at first, sitting down.
And you got to second, and I just remember you raising your hands in the air. You were happy not to have to run anymore?
Yeah, I was exhausted. Just happy to be there.
You've talked about trying to add weight and strength, and how good of a friend is Gio Caraballo, the strength and conditioning coach? I'm sure he's a guy you love and a guy you hate at times, but how much has he helped you so far in these 2 months?
He's been doing a great job. You know, my knees have been they've gotten stronger. When I first got here, they were kind of weak. He's helped me get through it. You know, learning how to do squats again, right form, doing lunges, things like that. He's helped me. He's always bringing me protein shakes to try to make me stronger, and he's done a great job.
You have a ton of information here. Once you get to professional baseball, how much of that do you have to, learn how to take in, what you can use and what you don't necessarily need to look at because it can be overwhelming?
Just things you learn along the way. Like, they tell us every single day they don't care how much we're hitting. All they care about is just good at bats and putting the ball in play. I mean, average is one thing. I mean, you can go up there 10 times, hit 10 line drives right at people when you're hitting 0. Like, that doesn't really matter to them. They just want you to put up good at bats and hit the ball hard.
I think I remember you hit a ball really well in Columbia that I felt like could have been a home run if you would have hit it to just a different part of the ballpark. You think that first one's coming here in the not-too-distant future? Or I know you don't want to try too hard for that, but that one was close.
I mean, maybe. Definitely not here.
Yeah,
not in Charleston.
Yeah, that's a tough place.
It's not even worth trying. I mean, Polanco hit one of the hardest balls I've seen in a while. I was in the on-deck circle just staring, and I was like, that is beautiful. And the guy caught it like 10 feet in front of the warning track, so I was like, that's not good. And then on the road, I might sneak one. I hit one dead center that got to the warning track. Should have hit it to the corner, but we'll see. Maybe. I just want one. Maybe.
Do you want the Bombrero, too? Do you want the experience of throwing that thing on?
Just one. Maybe an inside the Parker. That'll do it.
That would be...
Maybe.
You might be too tired to put it on at that
Fair.
point. But stolen base is obviously a big part of your game. Obviously a huge part of this team. For being so young, what is the key to being successful? I know Ronnie works with you guys a lot. Ronnie Richardson, the RiverDogs bench coach. What's the key to stealing a base?
He has this saying that it's bang, bang at first equals easy, safe at second.
Okay.
And then if you're easy, safe at first, you're bang, bang at second.
All right,
so
that
that's
makes
kind
sense.
of what we've been going off of. We've been trying to extend our leads, get as much as we can, and feel comfortable because you don't want to get too much, and then you're kind of like hesitating when he's going to the plate because then you might still get thrown out. So just getting a lot, feeling comfortable, and making sure it's a bang, bang here and easy, safe at second.
You lead the team in stolen bases right now, but there's some guys on your heels. You passed Noah Myers recently. He's been out of the lineup for a few days, but how much fun is it to be part of a team that pretty much every night 8 or 9 of the players in the lineup are going to be able to take an extra base, and you might bat with a runner in scoring position because of that?
I think it's super important just having guys in scoring position. When you're at the plate and you got to run on first, it's a lot different when you got a guy on third base with less than 2 outs. Your job at the plate is just hit the ball to the outfield, sac fly. I mean, it doesn't even count as an at bat. When you got a guy on first with less than 2 outs, like you got to worry about a double play ball. Things change.
And you guys are second in minor league baseball in stolen bases. The franchise record here in Charleston is 255, and you guys have 141, less than halfway into it. That's a record that I think would be pretty cool to have. But talk to me about the new rules they put in a couple of years ago. You didn't play with the old rules, but now the limit on pickoff moves. How much do you feel like that helps you? That if you can get a guy to throw over twice, that you're pretty confident you're going to make it on the third one?
I think for me it's a little bit different. I think if the guy's picked off twice, I already lost the opportunity. I usually like to go first or second pitch just because like they could either put the ball in play or foul a pitch off or just hit a ground ball somewhere, and then it's like I lose that opportunity. So I usually like to go before I get two pickoffs in.
And what about playing defensively, talking about stealing bases? I think Brian Brecker has been outstanding throwing the ball this year. When you're going to cover second base when somebody's running and he's back there, how nice is it to have that throw right there about knee-high most of the time?
I mean, it's good, and it helps us a lot just because if the throw's too far, our wrist or our arm might get caught in the runner, and that's never a good thing. So just having that throw on the money a lot is definitely something that you don't have to worry about, and it's good for him.
A moment, this will be a week ago now when the podcast comes out here, but Carolina, you're up by 1. You guys have had some close games get away from you at the end, and that could creep into your head a little bit, or you can try and overcome it. Well, bases loaded, nobody out in the ninth, infield in, and the guy hits a hard ground ball right at you. What are you thinking there? You're able to turn a 2-3 double play, end up winning the game. That's obviously a highlight for the early part of the season for the RiverDogs. When you're in, you just hoping that ball's hit at you or within a foot or two, and then how quickly do you have to get it out of your glove to give the chance to turn 2?
Yeah, when we hit BP, our last round, we're always playing infield in, and usually in that third group is Wu and Mateo, and they hit the ball pretty hard.
Sure.
So I think that's helped us a lot. You know, Smet always tells us we catch 3, catch 4, and we go in. So we take pride in our infield in. When I saw that ball hit at me, I was just really happy. It was kind of right at me, not to my side, just to make things easier, just kind of catch and let it go. But, I mean, that play was definitely one we needed.
Is that throw home a little bit more I don't know what the word is exactly. You just have a need to be a little bit more accurate, knowing he's got a catcher's mitt and he's standing on a flat base, right? So Anderson's back there. He can't really move. How important is that throw home being on target as opposed to first?
I think it's a little bit of both. You kind of want to get it there quick because you're shooting for that double play. Mm-hmm. You want him to have enough time to throw it to first because, I mean, if we just get the force out at home, we're kind of stuck in the same predicament again. And then in that situation, we might even have to play back just because we have one out. So we might want to turn a double play. Like a ground bar short, third and 2 instead of going home. So I think it's a little bit of both. Just let it go as quick as you can and just try to get it at his chest.
You talked about taking pride in infield defense. If you look around the infield any day when you're at short, Narciso Polanco is a second baseman. He's played great. He's played third base as well. CC came up as a shortstop. He's played a good second and third base this year. Ricky's been really good wherever he is, Ricardo Gonzalez. How nice is it to have when Peggy's out there, he's a shortstop playing center field and left field. But how nice is it to have other shortstops around the infield?
I mean, I think we got a team full of athletes. Like you can put anybody anywhere and we'll do a good job. I think it helps a lot the pitchers having confidence in us. You know, they can throw strikes. Any play in the infield, we're going to make it get, you know. So I think having a lot of shortstops, especially nowadays, a lot of people call themselves shortstops but aren't really shortstop. We have probably 4 or 5 true shortstops. So I think that helps us and the pitchers.
You mentioned pitchers in your last answer. The starting pitching this year has been phenomenal. I'm not sure there's a team in the league that has a better group of 5 or 6 starters right now. How nice is that to play behind guys who throw strikes, are getting strikeouts, but also occasionally let you guys work behind them?
I think it's good. You know, they've been keeping everybody to 1 to 2 runs. So, I mean, when runners get on second base, they'll be like, dude, you guys have the best pitching staff I've ever seen. So that helps us a lot and giving us a chance to win ball games, make good plays for them. They throw a lot of strikes. So,
is there someone you love playing behind and just watching pitch from your unique view back there by second base?
TJ, I've gotten pretty close with TJ over the past couple weeks. He loves when I play short because I call him Timmy Turner. So I'll usually bother him after he gets an out. But Him and Gary throws a lot of sinkers, so I usually get a lot of action when he pitches.
So Wu called you the funniest guy on the team, if I remember right, when he was on the podcast. Is that intentional, or is that just is that something you've always been known as? Do you feel like you're funny? What's the story there?
I think I'm a little funny. It's just he spends a little bit more time with me on the road, so we're usually always laughing, especially after a pretty bad game, or even if we have a good game, no matter what, usually just go back into the room and order some food and probably laugh for a little bit.
Yeah, Wu's a pretty funny guy too. Would you give
Yeah.
him? Is he the funniest guy on the team, or where are you going with that?
No, he's not the funniest at all. But
Not close.
His laugh is funny. I
So
will
who's
give him
funnier
that.
than Wu? Like, who do you have at the top of the list?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Just not Wu.
Not Wu.
Okay, that's fair. Owen Stevenson's a kind of a funny guy.
Sometimes. He's a pitcher, so I don't really talk to him as much. So only Timmy.
Okay, Timmy. You guys starting to move toward the All-Star break. Can you take me through professional baseball, playing every day? Now that it's getting hot, you told me on the way in here, it's starting to feel like Miami a little bit again with the humidity, but trying to stay fresh while playing every day, is that a new experience?
Yeah, it's definitely a new experience, but you kind of just learn how to deal with it. I mean, first month was pretty good. It was nice and cold. I think I took that for granted now.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's just the same thing every day. Just show up and try to feel good for the game.
Do you like the 6-game series, or do you feel like maybe it's a little bit too long? What's your feeling on the length of time we spend in a city right now?
I mean, coming from high school where it was just one game against
drive
one
home.
team, yeah, and I would go back home. I think 6 games is a lot, but, I mean, sure. I don't.
Yeah. If you see that Tuesday starter a second time or a bullpen guy a couple of times, does that help you a little bit because you've actually seen their repertoire a few times?
Yeah, especially if you get like a good barrel off him. When you see that guy again, you're going in there, I would say, a little bit more confident knowing that you already pieced him up.
The coaching staff led by Sean Smedley, you obviously work with Ronnie in terms of base running, the coordinators that come in here. How nice is this coaching staff to work with for your first professional season?
I mean, I think it's probably the best thing that's happened. I mean, I can't even think of other coaches that for your first year that you would want other than them.
You think a little second half run for the RiverDogs, is that the goal right now?
Yeah, we call ourselves the second half dogs.
Already? Still in the first half?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we already established that. Move the guitar over. We have a guitar in our clubhouse. Moved
I've
it
seen
to
it.
a different spot. I think that's what's working. And just second half dogs.
Whose guitar is that?
It's Woo's.
Can
And
Wu play the
no,
guitar?
He does not.
So he
bought
has
it.
a guitar,
Yeah, for no
but
reason.
can anyone play it?
Noah plays it a little bit. He used to know how to play it, but he forgot.
Some Canadian music?
No, I don't know.
What about the Oat
Country.
Milkers hat that Noah turned into the skull cap? I heard you were a fan.
Yeah, I took some good pictures with it in .5. They were pretty funny. I got bread in them too. I wanted to make it our home run hat, but they said no, so I'll get it
Stuck
done
with
after.
the Bombrero then.
Yeah.
Which you're going to wear at some point in the second half.
Just
That's
once.
At
Just
least.
once.
Okay, just once.
Yeah.
A couple rapid fire questions for you before we let you go. I would ask you who the funniest teammate is, but we already know you don't have an answer on that one. But favorite food?
Probably my mom's carne asada.
It's good?
Yeah, really good.
When's the last time you had it?
It's been a while. Probably like January.
So off season again?
Yeah, every
Big
day.
time?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Favorite city you've been to in the league so far?
Probably here. I like it here.
What about on the road?
No, just here. I
What
like
about
it
on the
here.
road? Any place?
Probably Myrtle Beach. My hotel view was nice.
Yeah, it's not
Beach.
bad.
Yeah, that
Not
was
bad.
nice.
What do you think about number of stolen bases this year? I don't want you to. Do you have a goal in mind?
Yes, a lot.
A lot.
Over 50. That's what I'm shooting for.
Over 50.
With less than like 6 caught stealing. Some umpires are pretty bad, so
Right now
you
you're
gotta be generous.
20 for 21. That's a pretty good start. You're okay with that percentage?
Yeah, I think I was safe on that one that I got caught.
I
but
think you were too, to be fair.
it's all right.
But we'll forget about it, right?
Yeah.
All right. Favorite memory playing baseball so far?
Probably winning states my junior year. That was pretty cool.
Pitcher on the RiverDogs or that's played with the RiverDogs this year that you'd most like to get a big hit off of?
Whoa. Probably Timmy, just to bother him.
Just to be clear, that's TJ Nichols
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
just to get in his head.
Just to bother him. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think of winning a 4 straight championship? How would that sound?
It's pretty cool. I mean, I think that's the goal. Coming in, we lost a little bit of games, and now we're turning it back around. Winning's fun. So when we're winning, everybody's having a good time. So we just got to keep doing our thing, getting on base, getting runners in, and keep winning.
Appreciate your time, man. I know it's a busy schedule right now in the middle of a series, but thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Three-Peat After Me. Again, make sure you give us a follow after watching and comment on Facebook, X, or Instagram. Let us know who you want to hear from in future episodes. We'll continue to talking to members of this team, members of the front office, and so on, anyone you're interested in. We'll talk to you again in a couple of weeks.